Welcome everyone to today's weekly webinar where QuickSight customers will learn about product functionality, new feature launches, best practices, and tips on how to improve user experience and gain technical knowledge from QuickSight essays and PMs. Today's focus is gonna be advanced calculations. My name is Maitri Brahmbhatt, and I am a BI engineer, and I am really excited to go through this with you all today. I am joined with few of my colleagues who will help you answer your questions. And so one of the great benefit of joining us live on our online session each week is being able to get the immediate answers to your questions. And so that being said, where do we go for getting our questions answered? So we have the QuickSight community, which is a great place to connect with our other QuickSight users. And it is the first place you should go look for the answers for your questions. You can search for the answers for your questions. You can ask new questions and be able to connect with other users and find new resources. We will also post latest announcement as well as blogs and articles in our learning section, including many examples created by me and my colleagues in the Demo Central section, which we'll be going through today in our today's demo. So if you haven't done this already, now would be a great time to go ahead and join the community. This is the link that you can use to register for the community. So once you are entered into the community, you will be able to see this page. In order to ask question in today's session, you can post your question on question answer section with the tag QLS Advanced Calculation, CAL. And we will make sure your question get prioritized all day today. So let me give you a little demo. How can you post your question today? So once you are logged into your QuickSight community, you can simply go to question and answer section here. Once you click on that, you will see new question button here. Once you click on that, you can add a title for your question in here and give a brief description of your question. And you can also add a tag, which is QLS Advanced Calc. And then you can post your question here. And the first question we get is, do we get the recording for today's session? And yes, we do record today's session, and all the recordings will be available and shared with the attendees. We will also post the recording on our QuickSight YouTube channel and the QuickSight community this week. Let's get started quickly and look at today's agenda. We will be going through what level-aware calculations are, the type of level-aware calculations that are available. Then we will look at the order of evaluation, how, when, and where level-aware calculations are evaluated as compared to other things in QuickSight. Then we will do a quick demo and look at some use cases. So moving on, what are the level-aware calculations? So any calculation that can be executed at a grade other than the displayed grade of the visual, that is level-aware calculation. So you can specify at which level of granularity you want to perform your calculations. Let's look at the types of level-aware calculation next. So first type is LACA, So LAC is short form for level-aware calculation aggregation functions. These are extensions to your regular aggregations. Like you have your sum function, mean function, max function, average function, etc. These are extensions to those functions. So you don't have to learn any new functions. It just takes an additional grouping level, and that is optional. So if you were to say sum of sales, that's a regular aggregation. If you add on an additional grouping level within square brackets, like I have done here, sum of sales by country, that becomes a LACA function, which uses country as a grouping level. The next type is LACW, which is level aware calculation window function. It's also called as it used to call as LAA. There are functions like sum over, mean over, max over, etc. They need a partition as well as a calculation level. So functions like sum over sales, partition by country, and then the next level is pre-filter or pre-ag that drives where those calculation is actually evaluated. For post-ag filter is most common use cases, you would find that LACA function can be replaced by post-ag filter. But for whatever reason, if you do want to use post-ag filters, you can. So for LACA function, it creates an internal result set at a grouping level that you specify. We will see this in action as we get into the demo. It handles the visual level aggregation implicitly. So when the sum function comes in there, you don't have to worry about any double counting or duplication. LACA handles that for you because it's having those intermediate or internal results set at the grain that you specify at your grouping level. So there won't be any duplication when you use LACA function. For LAC window function, the results from those functions are logically stamped on an application underlying detail records. So you have to use min aggregation function to ensure there isn't double counting happening. So if you were to change that aggregation from other than min or max, you have to ensure that you handle any potential double counting by changing the logic in the underlying calculation. So when you use LACW function, there can be duplication in the results, so you have to make sure of that. Now, let's talk about the order of evaluation. So, pre-filter level window function get evaluated very early at this stage after the simple calculations, right? After that, any filters that you use will take place. And after that, pre-ag level window function will get evaluated. And then if you were to use any top, bottom, and filters, that will happen next in the series. And after that, the new layer of aggregation function, which we just saw, LAC aggregation function, that will take place. That then they will get evaluated. And after that, we will have our usual visual aggregation level. And post-ag filter level will happen at this stage. When you are deciding which calculation to use, which is better, like A or LACW, there is no right answer for that. It's not one or the other. It depends on the use case. It depends on what you are trying to do. Is it something that you are trying to do at visual level, like really simple calculation where evaluation needs to be done at the very end? Then possibly LAC aggregation function would be a good fit for that. But if you want to do more complex calculations, then LAC window function is possibly the right fit. And then if you want to control where that calculation happens, you want to do a pre-ag or a pre-filter calculation, then you would need to go for LAC window functions. So it depends on the use cases. So now let's go and move on to the demo section. So here I have created a few functions that we have discussed earlier. In this visual, you can see I am showing sales by country, and we have the regular sales column in here, and then we are using LAC aggregation function and LAC window functions with post-ag filter, pre-ag filter, and pre-filter columns. So as we just saw in our order of evaluations, first pre-filter function will take place. So let me show you as an example. So let's say I'm going to filter this visual by country. Let me go ahead and remove some of the countries from this visual. All right. So now you can see, now that I have removed few of the countries from the visual, all the other fields have changed, and now we have some of only the countries which is not filtered by from this filter, right? But if you look at the sum over pre-filter column, you can still see the same number that we have seen previously. Since this is being evaluated before the filter applies, so that's why for the pre-filter, we won't see any changes in this column. Okay, so now from the order of evaluation, we also saw that pre-ag filter will take place before any top, bottom, and filter, right? So let's see that in action. So for top and country, let me reduce it to, let's say 21, right? So now from the results, you can see we still have the same number for pre-filter, and now pre-ag filter is still the same from the previous result. But for the LAC aggregation function is being changed, and also the post-ag filter is being changed to accommodate the new filter, right? So this is how you can see in action how each function is being evaluated at different stage. You can also see LAC aggregation function and LAC window function with post-ag filter. You can see the results are the same. As I mentioned previously, in most use cases, you can, instead of using post-ag filter, you can use LAC. You can replace that with the LAC aggregation function. So now that we have seen the overview of all these functions in action, let's move on to some of the use cases. So in the use cases, I have created 4 examples for question that we will be answering using the aggregation functions and window functions. Okay, so for example, the first question is calculate the max total country sales by region. So now to answer this question, we want the max of the sales, right? And we want that by country for all the region. So for this, we can simply use LAC aggregation function, and we can use that in 2 ways. So first, since we want we can do it either in a nested way or without a nested way. So what do I mean by that? So for nested way, what we are doing is we are simply gonna use the sum LAC function where we are saying that we want sum of sales, right? And we want to group by country because we want max total country, right? And in the function itself, we are going to add the max function. So it will give us the result here. But if we don't want to add max in the calculated field itself, we can also use simple sum sales group by country. And then from the fields field, we can do here in aggregation, we can do max. So there are 2 ways we can get this answer. And you can see both the answers gives us the same result. Okay, so moving on to second use case. So now let's say we want to calculate the total sales by country of each product's average price. So now that we want average price for sales, right? And we want to partition that by product and also the country because we want that by country. We have to use LAC window function. And since we want the average price, we are going to use the average over function. So to answer this question, again, we can use 2 methods. We can use nested or not nested. So for the nested one, we can simply say we want the average, we can do average over for sales, and then we want to partition that by product and country. And since we don't want any visual aggregation to be affected in our calculated field, we are going to use pre-ag in here, right? And then for the entire function, we are going to use sum since we want the total sales. And if we want to use not nested, then we can define the calculated field only by average over function as previously. And then instead of using the sum in the calculated field here, we can use that in here. We can do aggregation at sum at the visual level. So you can get this answer in both the ways. For the third use case, let's say we want to find out how do I filter out customers with lifetime spend less than $50,000, right? So for this, what we need to do is we have to use LAC window function, and since we want to filter out the customers who has lifetime spend less than $50,000, we have to create a filter which is sales per customer, right? And then we want to set that filter less than $50,000. So for that, we are going to use sum over. And once we create the sales per customer, we are going to use that as a filter in here. And then we are going to, since we want filter out any customers who has spent less than $50,000, we are going to do here in the filter, we are going to use greater than 50,000, and then we simply do apply. So that's how we can filter out those customers who has less lifetime spend than $50,000. So again, for this use case, we can solve this using the LAC window function. The last use case is, so let's say if you want to answer how much is the contribution of each industry to the entire company's profit. So percentage of total, and I don't want the total to recompute when the filters are applied, right? So let's say if there's an industry which contributes 10% of the total company's profit, right? So if I use filter in this visual, and if I filter out some of the industry, I don't want the percentage of that particular industry's contribution to change, right? So for that, I have to create a fixed percentage of total. So how do I do that? So for that, first of all, I have to create a field which gives us total sales before any filter, right? So since we have a requirement where we want to calculate a field prior to any filter, we have to use LAC window function since we want to do a pre-filter, right? So to create the total sales before filters, we are going to use LAC window function, which is sum over. And then we are going to do sum. And then we'll add pre-filter so that any filter applied to this visual won't affect this number. Now that we have total sales before filter, we will calculate fixed percentage of total. And how do we do that? So for that, we are simply gonna do total sum divided by the total sales before the filter. So this number will give us the fixed percentage of total, regardless which filter we apply. And to see that in action, I have one more field, which is percentage of total, right? So here, I'm not using any pre-filter, any LAC window function, right? So whenever I apply any filter, it will recompute to give us like total 100% value at the end. So let's see that in action. So here I have a filter on industry. So now you can see if I select all the industry, it gives me 100% for both the columns, right? But if I remove few industry and then do apply filter, now you can see percentage of total will still give me 100%, but fixed percentage of total will still give me the exact number of percentage of contribution for each industry to company's profit. So this is how you answer this question using LAC aggregation and window function both. So I have a few more examples. here on the Demo Central. So if you are not aware with the Demo Central, this is the great place where you can find all the kind of different dashboards, examples for Q. You can also find the examples for Q dashboards, and you can also find the examples for the feature demo. You also have the tips and tricks here, where you can go in and learn about different different topics that you are interested in. So for today's session, we are gonna look at the feature demo, and here we are gonna look at the calculation level aware calculation. So I have already opened this dashboard in here. I'm not gonna go through all the tabs here, but we have a link of the Demo Central in the presentation. Feel free to go in and go through this dashboard, and you can also you can also go through all the tabs. We have a great examples here, and you can also create an analysis version of it. Let me show you how you can do that. So here you can see a little symbol here. Once you click on the analysis symbol there, it will open an analysis version for you. And now you can see, you can explore all the tabs. And you can also see how every calculation is being calculated, and learn more about the level aware calculations. We have quite a few examples here, so feel free to go through each of them, and you will be able to learn more about LAC aggregation and window function in here. So let me go back to my slides. So I have also created a cheat sheet here for level aware calculations. So you can use this one for your reference, like a quick cheat sheet. And I also have added few reference material in here. So AWS documentation for calculation, it's very good. They have a lot of example in here. I really like this particular documentation, and I will encourage you to go through this. And while also using the function in your QuickSight analysis, you can click on any function, and then you can choose learn more to go through the AWS documentation for that particular function and learn more about those. And then we have a link for QuickSight community, which is a great place where you can go and get the answers for all your questions. And you can also post new questions. You can go to an article. There are a lot of information available on the QuickSight community on the advanced calculation topic. We also have so many blogs available on this topic. So I would highly encourage you to go through the QuickSight community to learn more about advanced calculations. So definitely check that section in the community. I have also left a link here for the Demo Central, which is a great place to learn about new dashboard and see how something has been done and learn new cool tips and tricks. So in today's session, we have covered advanced calculations. In the next week section, we will be covering QuickSight automation using the AWS CLI and CloudFormation. So please join us next week for this topic. You can register on community at this link provided in here. So thank you so much, everyone, for your time today. We really appreciate your feedback. if you would take few minutes and fill out the feedback form. We really want to make sure these sessions are valuable to you. So the feedback you provide here will be used for the further enhancement of these sessions. To get more information on the events, to understand what's going on within the community, please look at the community event page from the QuickSight community page. And once again, thank you so much, everyone, for your time today, and have a great week ahead. Thank you, everyone.